Hello, and welcome. I'm your night librarian. So glad you're here tonight. I hope you don't mind. I've put on some relaxing music for you. It should begin shortly, softly in the background. Let's take a moment to slow down together. There's nothing you need to do, and nowhere you need to be. Let's light up the candle. Just a small, warm glow, steady and comforting. Take a gentle breath in and let it go. Tonight, we'll be talking about something simple, something calm, something that you can drift in and out of as you rest. You don't need to stay awake. Just listen, relax, and allow yourself to fall asleep whenever you're ready. This library grows with its travelers. If these stories help you rest, subscribing helps us grow and guides other sleepless souls here. A like or a quiet comment is always appreciated. But for now, all you need to do is relax. The library is quiet. The candle is lit. Settle in. Get comfortable. And allow your eyes to grow heavy. Take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Tonight, we're going on a quiet journey through the world of something you see every single day but hardly ever notice. Something simple, something green, something glowing softly in the corner of your eye as you walk through hallways, schools, stores, and offices. We're talking about exit signs. Those little glowing rectangles that say exit in bold letters. They're everywhere, aren't they? Above doorways, in stairwells, along dark corridors. You've probably walked past 1,000 of them without giving them a second thought. And that's exactly how they are supposed to work. But tonight, as you settle in and let your mind wander, we're going to explore the fascinating logic behind these humble signs. How they came to be, why they look the way they do, and why these simple, quiet sentinels might just be the most important signs in the world. So get comfortable, close your eyes if you'd like, and let's begin our gentle exploration of the logic of building fire exit signage. There's something wonderful about being ignored. Think about the air you breathe. You don't notice it, do you? It's just there, doing its job, keeping you alive without any fanfare or attention. Exit signs are a lot like that. They are designed to be so familiar, so ordinary, that your brain barely registers them at all, until you need them. That's the beautiful paradox of the exit sign. It must be invisible and obvious at the same time. It needs to blend into the everyday background of our lives, requiring no thought, no energy, no mental effort as we pass by it on a Tuesday afternoon. But in the moment of crisis, in the confusion of smoke or darkness or panic, that same sign must become a beacon, a guide, a lifeline. Imagine you're walking through your school right now. Picture the hallways in your mind. White walls, maybe some lockers, classroom doors with little windows. And above some of those doors, there they are. Green signs, or sometimes red ones, depending on where you live, glowing softly, the word exit spelled out in simple, clean letters. You walk past them every day, to math class, to lunch, to the library. Your eyes might glance at them for a fraction of a second, but your brain doesn't really process them. They are just part of the scenery, like the ceiling tiles or the water fountain. And yet, these ignored little signs are standing guard. They are watching over you, even when you don't notice them. They are ready. They are waiting. They never sleep, never take a break, never get distracted. They just glow, quietly and patiently, marking the path to safety. Think about that for a moment. In every building you enter, there are signs whose only job is to help you escape, not to sell you something, not to warn you about rules or regulations, not to tell you where the bathroom is, though that's helpful too. No, these signs have one pure purpose: to show you the way out when everything goes wrong. It's actually quite beautiful when you think about it. In a world full of signs screaming for your attention, advertisements, warnings, directions, announcements, the exit sign asks for nothing. It simply serves. The people who design these signs understand something deep about human psychology. They know that in an emergency, people don't think clearly. Your brain gets flooded with stress hormones. Your heart pounds. Your hands shake. Your thoughts become jumbled and confused. In that moment of chaos, you can't read complicated instructions. You can't follow a detailed map. You can't make complex decisions about which way to go. You need something simple, something you've seen a million times before, something your brain can recognize instantly, even through fear and smoke and noise. You need that green glow, that familiar word, exit. Your feet will move toward it almost automatically, guided by years of passing beneath those same signs, absorbing their message without even knowing it. All those ignored moments suddenly add up to something powerful. Your brain knows where the exits are, even if you never consciously memorize them. This is the genius of the Silent Sentinel. It teaches you without you realizing you're being taught. It prepares you without you knowing you're being prepared. It's always there, quietly doing its job, hoping you'll never need it, but ready if you do. And here's something else to consider as you drift off tonight. Someone, somewhere, thought about you when they installed that sign. They imagined a future version of you, maybe scared, maybe confused, needing help. And they put that sign there as a gift to that future you. A gift of guidance. A gift of safety. They'll never meet you. You'll never thank them. But they did it anyway. That's the quiet heroism of the exit sign. It represents thousands of people, designers, engineers, building inspectors, electricians, all working together across time and space to keep you safe. People you'll never know, doing their job with care and precision, so that a little green sign will be there for you if you ever need it. So tonight, as you rest, you can feel just a tiny bit safer knowing that wherever you are, there are silent sentinels standing guard, glowing softly, waiting patiently, ignored by everyone, but ready for anyone. The most important signs in the world are the ones we never think about. And that's exactly how it should be. Let's drift back in time now. Not too far, just about 150 years or so. Imagine a world without exit signs. No glowing letters above doors. No arrows pointing the way, just buildings filled with people. And when something went wrong, well, chaos. It's hard to picture now, isn't it? Exit signs feel so permanent, so obviously necessary. But there was a time when they simply didn't exist, and the world learned, slowly and painfully, why we needed them. Picture a theater in the 1800s, a grand, beautiful building with velvet seats and golden decorations. The lights are dimmed. The show is about to begin. Hundreds of people sit shoulder to shoulder, excited, talking, laughing. The air smells of perfume and candle wax. Now imagine something goes wrong. A candle tips over backstage. A gas lamp breaks. Within seconds, there's smoke. Then fire. The beautiful theater becomes a trap. People jump from their seats. They push toward the doors. But which doors? In the darkness and smoke, no one can see. There are no signs telling them where to go. The few people who know the building well rush one way. Everyone else follows, or tries to, creating a crushing stampede. Some doors are locked. Some open the wrong way. Some lead to dead ends. This wasn't imagination. This happened, over and over again. In 1903, the Iroquois Theater fire in Chicago killed more than 600 people. The building was supposed to be fireproof. It had beautiful decorations and the latest technology. But when fire broke out during a Christmas show, people couldn't find their way out. Exit doors were hidden behind curtains. Some were locked. Panic turned into tragedy. That fire changed everything. People realized that beautiful buildings meant nothing if people couldn't escape them. Cities started creating rules, fire codes, safety standards, and among those rules was a simple idea: mark the exits clearly. But even that took time to figure out. The first exit signs were just painted words on walls. Exit or way out written in black letters. Better than nothing, but in smoke or darkness, you couldn't see them at all. They were there, technically, but they couldn't do their job when they were needed most. Then someone had an idea. What if the signs glowed? What if they had their own light source? So even in darkness, they could guide people to safety. This was brilliant, revolutionary, but also complicated. Remember, this was before electricity was common in buildings. Early glowing exit signs used radioactive paint. Yes, radioactive. Paint containing radium that would glow faintly in the dark. It seems shocking now, but at the time, people didn't fully understand the dangers of radiation. They just knew it solved a problem. As electricity became more common, exit signs evolved. Electric bulbs replaced radioactive paint. The signs got brighter, more reliable, but they also created a new problem. They needed power. If a fire knocked out the electricity, the signs would go dark right when people needed them most. Engineers went back to work. They added battery backups. They designed signs that could switch to emergency power automatically. They tested and tweaked and improved, year after year, learning from each disaster, each close call, each moment when the sign saved lives or failed to. Different countries tried different approaches. In America, exit signs glowed red, like a fire truck, because red meant emergency. In Europe and many other places, they chose green, the color of safety and go. Both made sense in their own way. Red catches your eye. Green means move forward. The debate continues even today. There were other questions too. How bright should the signs be? If they are too dim, you can't see them in smoke. Too bright, and they are annoying in normal times, wasting energy. How big should the letters be? Too small, and people far away can't read them. Too big, and you need giant signs everywhere. Every detail mattered because every detail could mean the difference between life and death. Building codes started appearing in cities around the world. These were thick books full of rules about how buildings should be constructed to keep people safe. And buried in those books, among specifications for concrete thickness and stairwell width, were detailed rules about exit signs. They must be placed every certain number of feet. They must be visible from any point in a hallway. They must have battery backup lasting at least 90 minutes. They must use specific colors, specific letter sizes, specific brightness levels. These weren't just bureaucratic rules for the sake of having rules. Each one was written in response to someone, somewhere, who didn't make it out. Each specification represented a lesson learned in the hardest way possible. The chaos before the code was real. Fires like the Iroquois Theater, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in New York in 1911, where workers couldn't escape because doors were locked and there were no clear exit paths. The Coconut Grove nightclub fire in Boston in 1942, where exit signs were inadequate and emergency exits were blocked. After each tragedy, cities would update their codes, make them stricter, more specific, more demanding. Building owners would complain about the cost, but gradually, the standards spread. What started as local rules became state rules, then national codes, then international standards. Today, when you walk into any modern building anywhere in the developed world, you can be fairly confident that the exits are marked clearly, that there are enough of them, that they lead somewhere safe, that they'll be lit even if the power goes out. You can be confident because of the chaos that came before, because people learned, slowly and painfully, that hope isn't a strategy, that good intentions aren't enough, that you need rules and standards, and people checking to make sure those standards are followed. The exit signs you ignore every day are the children of tragedy. They exist because of lessons written in smoke and loss. They are better now, smarter now, more reliable now, because generation after generation of engineers and safety experts studied what went wrong and asked, how do we make sure this never happens again? And so the chaos gave way to order. Random chance gave way to careful planning. Darkness gave way to light. Those simple glowing signs represent more than just a way out. They represent humanity's determination to learn from mistakes, to protect each other, to create order from chaos. As you rest tonight, you can appreciate that those little signs above the doors aren't just metal and plastic and light bulbs. They are history. They are memory. They are promises kept across generations. They are the light that came after the darkness, making sure the darkness never wins again. Now let's slow down even more. Let's focus on something tiny. Something you might think is trivial, but is actually fascinating. Let's talk about letters. Not just any letters. The specific letters that spell out exit on those glowing signs. The shape of them, the spacing between them, the weight of their lines. Every tiny detail has been thought about, tested, and refined over decades. Because in the dark, In the smoke, in the panic, every detail matters. Imagine you're a designer tasked with creating the perfect exit sign. You sit down with a blank sheet of paper. How hard could it be? Just write the word exit in big letters, right? Make it bold so it stands out. Done. But then you start asking questions. What kind of letters should you use? There are thousands of fonts in the world. Fancy ones with curls and flourishes. Simple ones that are just straight lines. Rounded ones. Squared ones. Thick ones. Thin ones. Which one will save lives? The answer lies in something called legibility. That's a fancy word for how easy something is to read, especially from far away or in bad conditions. And it turns out that legibility is a science. Let's start with the most basic choice, serif or sans serif. If you're not familiar with these terms, don't worry. Serif fonts are the ones with little feet and decorations on the letters. Think of the font in most books. Those tiny lines at the end of each stroke are serifs. Sans serif fonts are cleaner, simpler, no decorations, just the basic letter shape. For exit signs, the choice is almost always sans serif. Why? Because those little decorative serifs can blur together when you're looking through smoke or seeing them from far away. Sans serif letters stay clear and distinct even in terrible conditions. But it's not enough to just choose sans serif. You need the right sans serif. The letters need to be thick enough to show up clearly, but not so thick that they blob together. They need to be spaced properly. Too close together, and they become a jumbled mess. Too far apart, and your brain has to work harder to read them as a word. Think about the letter E. It's the first letter of exit, so it's important. A good exit sign E has 3 horizontal lines that are evenly spaced and clearly separated from each other. The vertical line on the left is thick and strong. Even if part of the letter is obscured by smoke, your brain can fill in the rest because the shape is so clear and simple. Now the letter X. This one is tricky because it's 2 diagonal lines crossing in the middle. If the lines are too thin, the X looks weak and might disappear in poor visibility. If they are too thick, the center where they cross can fill in, becoming a dark blob instead of a clear crossboat. The best exit sign X has lines that are just thick enough to be visible but thin enough to stay distinct. The letter I is the simplest, right? Just a vertical line. But even here, there are decisions. Should it have horizontal lines at the top and bottom, like a capital I in many fonts? Most exit signs say no. Keep it simple, just a clean vertical line. Why? Because any extra element could cause confusion or reduce visibility in smoke. And finally, T, a vertical line with a horizontal line across the top. The horizontal line needs to be long enough to be clearly a T and not confused with an I or an L, but not so long that it looks strange or takes up too much space. Every one of these decisions has been tested. Engineers and designers have run experiments with people reading signs through artificial smoke. They've measured visibility from different distances and angles. They've timed how quickly people can recognize the word exit in different fonts under different conditions. The results of all this testing have shaped what we call the standard exit sign font. In many countries, there are specific approved fonts for exit signs. You can't just use any font you like. You have to use one that has been proven to work when it matters most. But typography isn't just about the shape of individual letters. It's also about how they work together as a word. The spacing between letters is crucial. Designers call this kerning. Too much space. An exit looks like 4 separate letters instead of a word. Your brain has to work to connect them. Too little space, and they might blur together, especially from far away. The ideal spacing creates a rhythm. E, X, I, T, each letter distinct but clearly part of a whole. Even if you can only see part of the sign, your brain can guess the rest because the pattern is so familiar. Then there's the question of size. How big should the letters be? This depends on how far away people might be when they need to see the sign. Scientists have studied human vision extensively. They know that for a normally sighted person to read letters from a certain distance, those letters need to be a certain height. Building codes often specify minimum letter heights for exit signs. Usually, the letters need to be at least 6 inches tall, though this can vary. Why 6 inches? Because at that height, you can read the sign from about 50 feet away even in reduced visibility. And 50 feet might be the length of a hallway or the distance across a large room. But here's something interesting. Bigger isn't always better. If you make the letters too large, the sign itself becomes enormous and heavy. It's harder to mount securely. It blocks more of the view. It might even obstruct sprinklers or other safety equipment. So there's a sweet spot. Big enough to see from far away, small enough to be practical. The contrast between the letters and the background is another crucial element. Most exit signs use white letters on a green or red background, or sometimes the reverse. This high contrast makes the letters pop out, even when your vision is impaired by smoke or stress. Scientists have measured exactly how much contrast is needed. The difference in brightness between the letters and the background needs to be significant enough that your eyes can separate them instantly. Your brain shouldn't have to work to figure out what the sign says. It should be obvious at a glance. Interestingly, the color of the light matters too. Green light travels through smoke better than red light. This is because of the wavelength of different colors and how they interact with tiny smoke particles in the air. Green has a longer wavelength, so it bends around particles more easily and remains visible even when red might be scattered and dimmed. This is one reason why many countries have moved toward green exit signs instead of red. It's not just about symbolism. Green meaning go. It's about physics and visibility. Some modern exit signs use special materials that seem to glow even more brightly in the dark. They use photoluminescent materials that absorb light during normal conditions and then release it slowly when the lights go out. These can serve as backup illumination, continuing to mark the exit even if both primary and battery power fail. The letters on these photoluminescent signs need to be designed with even more care. The glowing effect isn't as bright as an electric light, so the letters need to be larger and the contrast even stronger to remain visible. Typography might seem like a small detail in the grand scheme of building safety. But small details become big things in emergencies. The shape of a letter could be the difference between someone seeing the exit immediately and wandering confused in the smoke for precious extra seconds. Every curve, every angle, Every millimeter of spacing on an exit sign has been carefully considered by people who understand that design isn't just about looking nice. It's about working perfectly when everything else is going wrong. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you can appreciate the invisible work that goes into making letters that save lives. The careful balance between art and science, beauty and function, simplicity and clarity. Those simple, bold letters that spell exit aren't just letters. They are the result of decades of research, testing, and refinement. They are typography with a purpose, letters that matter, words that guide, shapes that save, and they are waiting, glowing softly, for a moment they hope will never come, but ready if it does. Simple letters doing the most important job in the world, showing the way home. Let's talk about color now. Close your eyes and picture an exit sign. What color do you see? If you're in the United States, you probably see red. Glowing red letters spelling exit against a white background, or white letters on red. It's as American as stop signs and fire trucks. Red means emergency. Red means danger. Red means pay attention. But if you're in most other parts of the world, Europe, Asia, Australia, you see green. Bright green signs with white symbols or letters. Green means go. Green means safety. Green means this way to life. Two colors, both trying to do the same job. Both convinced they're doing it better. This isn't just a trivial difference in taste. It's a fascinating story about how different cultures think about safety, psychology, and the simple question, what color should save your life? Let's start with red, because red came first in many places. The logic seemed obvious. Red has been the color of danger and warning for as long as humans have had color vision. Think about it. Blood is red. Fire is red. Our faces turn red when we're angry or in danger. Deep in our evolutionary past, red meant something important was happening. Stop. Look. Be careful. When exit signs first started appearing in buildings, using red made perfect sense. An exit sign is part of the emergency system, just like fire alarms and fire extinguishers. Keep everything red, and people will know it's all related. It's a system, a language of safety written in red. And there's something else about red. It's highly visible. Your eyes are naturally drawn to it. In a sea of colors, red jumps out. It demands attention. In a building with white walls and brown doors and beige carpets, a red exit sign announces itself. You can't miss it. For decades, this logic worked just fine in America. Red exit signs became standard. Building codes required them. Manufacturers made them. People grew up with them. They became part of the visual landscape, as familiar as the flag. But across the ocean, people were thinking differently. In Europe, after World War II, countries were rebuilding and rethinking everything, including how to keep people safe in buildings. Some safety experts started asking a different question. Instead of thinking about exits as part of the emergency system, what if we thought about them as part of the escape system? Different words, but the difference matters. Emergency makes you think about the problem, the fire, the danger, the thing going wrong. Red fits with that thinking. Red says, danger is here, but escape makes you think about the solution. the way out, the path to safety. And what color represents safety and moving forward? Green. Think about traffic lights. Red means stop. Yellow means caution. Green means go. This pattern is universal, understood around the world, even by small children. Your brain has been trained since you were tiny. Green means proceed. It's safe to move forward. So if you're scared and confused in a smoky building, what message do you want to receive? Some European safety experts argued it should be green. Not danger is here, but safety is this way. Not stop and think about the emergency, but go, move, escape. It's a subtle psychological difference. But psychology matters in emergencies. When you're panicked, your brain isn't thinking logically. It's reacting on instinct and training. And all your training says green means go. There was another practical consideration too, one we touched on earlier. Green light travels through smoke better than red light. This is pure physics. Different colors of light have different wavelengths. Green's wavelength is better at penetrating through the tiny particles in smoke. A green sign will stay visible a few crucial seconds longer than a red one when a hallway fills with smoke. Is it a huge difference? No, but in an emergency, a few seconds can mean everything. Countries started choosing sides. Europe went green. Most of Asia followed. Australia and New Zealand chose green. Canada, being Canada, tried to accommodate both, allowing either red or green depending on the region and the building. America stuck with red, partly because that's what was already there. Changing every exit sign in every building in the country would cost billions of dollars. But also because American safety experts weren't convinced green was actually better. Red works, they argued. People understand it. Why fix what isn't broken? And so the divide remained. Two different philosophies, two different colors, both trying to achieve the same goal. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Some researchers decided to actually test which color works better. They set up experiments. They created mock buildings filled with artificial smoke. They brought in volunteers and timed how quickly they could find exits with different colored signs. The results were mixed. Some studies showed green was slightly better, especially in heavy smoke. Others showed no significant difference. A few even suggested that what mattered most wasn't the color itself, but what people were used to. Americans found red signs faster because they'd been seeing red signs all their lives. Europeans found green signs faster for the same reason. This makes sense when you think about it. Your brain is an amazing pattern recognition machine. It learns what to look for. If you spent 20 years seeing red exit signs, your brain becomes very good at spotting red exit signs, even in terrible conditions. The same goes for green. So maybe the color debate isn't really about which color is objectively better. Maybe it's about consistency. Pick a color, either color, and stick with it throughout a country or region. Let people's brains learn that pattern. Don't mix them up. This is why building codes in most places specify one color or the other, not both. A building in London will have green exit signs throughout. A building in New York will have red exit signs throughout. You won't find a mix, because mixing them up would confuse people's pattern recognition. But the debate continues in international spaces. Airports, For example, when you have travelers from all over the world, what color should your exit signs be? Some airports use pictograms, symbols instead of words, to solve the language barrier, but they still have to choose red or green. Most international airports have settled on green, following the ISO standard that we'll talk about in the next segment. But American airports often stick with red, or use both, trying to accommodate everyone. There's something almost philosophical about this debate. It reveals how different cultures approach safety. The American approach: use the color that screams danger to grab attention. The European approach: use the color that whispers safety to guide the way. Both coming from a place of caring, both trying to save lives. Neither side is wrong. That's the beautiful thing about it. Red works. Green works. They work because people expect them, trust them, and follow them. The color itself matters less than the agreement that this color, whatever it is, means this way out. As you drift off tonight, you might find it comforting that people around the world have spent decades debating which color is better for keeping you safe. Researchers running experiments, engineers doing calculations, committee meetings where people passionately argue about wavelengths and psychology and visibility. All of this effort, all of this thought, all of this care, just to make sure that when you look up in a moment of fear, you'll see a color that guides you home. Whether it's red or green, it's glowing there for you. A universal symbol that transcends the color debate. This way to safety. The great color debate isn't settled. It probably never will be. But that's okay. Because what matters isn't winning the debate. What matters is that on both sides of the argument, people care deeply about getting it right. About making sure that little glowing sign, whatever color it is, will be there when you need it. Red or green. Green or red, both lighting the way, both doing their job, both saying the same thing in different colors. You're going to be okay. Just follow the light. Now we arrive at one of the most elegant solutions to a complicated problem. Let's talk about the running man. You've probably seen him. A simple white figure on a green background, running toward a door or an arrow. No words, no explanation needed. Just a person, clearly in motion, heading toward an exit. It's so simple a child could draw it, and yet, it might be the most important pictogram in the world. This little running figure has a name, or at least a designation. It's part of ISO 7010. An international standard for safety signs. But before we talk about the standard, let's talk about why we needed the running man in the first place. Imagine you're traveling. You land in a country where you don't speak the language. You don't read their alphabet. The signs around you look like beautiful art, but you have no idea what they say. Now imagine there's an emergency. Fire, earthquake, something that means you need to get out right now. How do you find the exit? If the exit signs just say exit in the local language, you're in trouble. You might be looking right at the exit sign and not know it. You might run past it, desperately searching for something you can understand. This was a real problem, especially at airports, train stations, and hotels, anywhere that served international travelers. Different countries use different words, different alphabets, even different colors, as we just discussed. The solution seemed obvious. Use symbols instead of words. Pictures that mean the same thing to everyone, regardless of language. Universal symbols that a person from Japan could understand just as easily as a person from Brazil or Egypt or Iceland. But creating universal symbols is harder than it sounds. How do you draw exit in a way that everyone will understand? An open door? Maybe. But is it an exit or just a regular door? An arrow pointing out? Better. But pointing out of what? The building? The room? Which direction? In the 1970s, a Japanese designer named Yukio Ota was working on this exact problem. Japan was preparing for international events. They needed signs that foreign visitors could understand. Ota studied how people move when they're escaping from danger. He watched. He sketched, he simplified, and he created the running man. It's a stick figure, really, the simplest possible representation of a human being. A circle for a head, lines for arms and legs. But the genius is in the pose. The figure is clearly running. One leg forward, one back, arms pumping, body leaning into the motion, the energy of movement captured in a few simple lines. And critically, the running man is heading towards something. A door, an arrow, a rectangle that represents the exit. The figure isn't just running randomly. There's purpose, direction. This way, the running man says without words. Follow me. Ota's design was brilliant in its simplicity. You could reduce it to almost nothing and it would still work. You could see it from far away. You could recognize it in smoke or darkness. And most importantly, you could understand it instantly, regardless of what language you spoke or what country you came from. Japan adopted the running man for their exit signs. And then something wonderful happened. Other countries noticed. They saw how well it worked, how universal it was, how even small children understood it immediately. Slowly, the running man started appearing in other places. First in other Asian countries, then in Europe, Australia, gradually spreading like a visual language that needed no translation. But having different countries all use similar but slightly different running man designs created a new problem. Some running men were chubby, some were thin, some ran to the left, some to the right, some had rectangular doors, some had arched doors. It was better than words, but it still wasn't quite universal. The world needed a standard, one official running man that everyone could agree on. Enter ISO, the International Organization for Standardization. This is a global group that creates standards for everything from paper sizes to food safety. They bring together experts from different countries to agree on how things should be done. In 2003, ISO published their standard for safety signs, called ISO 7010. And right there, as one of the most important symbols in the entire standard, was the running man, or more officially, emergency exit, left or right hand. The standard included exact specifications, the proportions of the figure, the angle of the run, the size of the door symbol, everything precisely defined so that a running man sign in Germany would look exactly like one in Singapore or South Africa. The ISO running man has specific features. The figure is white on a green background, following the European preference for green as the color of safety. The proportions are carefully balanced to be visible from a distance while fitting into standard sign sizes. The door symbol is simple and clear, leaving no doubt about what the running man is running toward. There's a beautiful democracy in the running man. It doesn't matter if you're tall or short, old or young, from a big city or a small village. The running man represents everyone. It's not a realistic drawing of a person. It's an idea of a person, a symbol that says human being in the most universal way possible. And it's not just for exit signs. Once the world had agreed on this symbol, designers realized it could be adapted for other purposes. The running man could point to fire assembly points, could mark evacuation routes, could appear on emergency plans showing which way to go. Always the same simple figure, always clearly in motion, always pointing the way to safety. Children love the running man. Maybe it's because he looks friendly and simple. Maybe it's because he seems to be on an adventure, racing somewhere important. Teachers use the running man to teach fire safety. Look for the running man, they tell students. He knows the way out. There's something deeply human about following a figure in motion. Our brains are wired to notice movement, to track it, to understand it. When you see the running man, your brain doesn't have to work to understand. It just knows someone is escaping. Someone knows where to go. Follow them. The adoption of ISO 7010 hasn't been instant or complete. The United States, with millions of red exit signs already installed, hasn't fully embraced the running man. Change takes time and money, but in new buildings, in renovations, and in international spaces, you see more and more running men appearing. There's a lesson in the running man about communication. Sometimes the best way to say something isn't with words at all. Sometimes a simple image, carefully designed and universally agreed upon, can speak louder and clearer than any language. The running man doesn't explain, doesn't argue, doesn't need translation. He just runs, forever frozen in that moment of purposeful motion, pointing the way, ready to guide anyone who needs help from anywhere in the world. As you settle in for sleep tonight, you can take comfort in knowing that somewhere, right now, a designer is refining a safety symbol, an engineer is testing its visibility, a committee is debating its effectiveness, all to create simple images that transcend language and culture, all to make sure that in a moment of crisis, anyone, anywhere, can find their way to safety. The running man is still running, will always be running, leading the way with his simple, universal gesture. No words needed. Just motion, just direction, just hope in the form of a stick figure, showing us all the way home. Is there in airports and schools, in hotels and hospitals, in stadiums and shopping centers, a tiny figure on a green sign, running through the decades, never getting tired, never giving up, always ready to guide the next person who needs him. The birth of the running man was the birth of a new kind of language, a visual language of safety that belongs to everyone, and is there for you whenever you need him, pointing the way with his simple, eternal run toward the door, toward safety, toward home. Let's talk about something you can't see with your eyes, But that makes all the difference in the world. Let's talk about lumens. A lumen is a measurement of light. Just like inches measure distance and pounds measure weight, lumens measure brightness. One lumen isn't very bright at all. A candle makes about 12 lumens. But an exit sign, it needs to produce enough lumens to be seen from far away, through smoke, in darkness, even when you're panicked and your vision is affected by stress. Engineers have studied this carefully. How bright does an exit sign need to be? Too dim, and people might miss it. Too bright, and it wastes energy, creates glare, and can even be annoying in everyday situations. There's a perfect balance somewhere in the middle. Most building codes require exit signs to maintain a certain brightness level. The letters or symbols typically need to be visible from at least 100 feet away in normal conditions, and from 50 feet away in darkness or smoke. To achieve this, the sign needs to produce anywhere from 15 to 60 lumens per square foot of sign surface, depending on the type of sign and local regulations. But here's where it gets interesting. That brightness needs to last. An exit sign isn't like a lamp that you replace when it burns out. It needs to work for years, decades even. It needs to work every single day and every single night. Always ready, never failing. This is where the materials matter. Modern exit signs use LED technology, light-emitting diodes. These are tiny electronic lights that are incredibly efficient and long-lasting. A good LED can run for 25 years or more without burning out. Think about that. A sign installed when you were born could still be glowing when you graduate from college. LEDs are perfect for exit signs for several reasons. They use very little electricity, which means lower energy costs and smaller battery backups needed. They don't get hot like old incandescent bulbs, which means they are safer and won't melt the sign housing. And they maintain consistent brightness over their entire life, not slowly dimming like older bulbs. The housing of the sign, the box that holds all the components, is equally important. It needs to protect the lights, the wiring, and the battery backup from dust, moisture, and impact. Many exit signs use polycarbonate plastic for the housing. This material is incredibly tough. You could drop it from a ladder and it probably wouldn't crack. It doesn't turn yellow over time. It can handle temperature changes without warping. The face of the sign, the part you look at, is usually made of a different material. It needs to let light through while also diffusing it evenly so you don't see individual lead points. Designers use frosted acrylic or special polycarbonate lenses that spread the light smoothly across the entire sign face. This creates the even glow that makes the letters or symbols so easy to read. Inside the sign is a battery. This is crucial. Remember, if a fire knocks out the power, the exit signs need to keep working. Building codes usually require that the battery can power the sign for at least 90 minutes. Why 90 minutes? Because that's typically enough time to evacuate even a large building, for firefighters to arrive, and for everyone to get to safety. These batteries are special. They are not like the batteries in your flashlight that die after a few hours of use. They are rechargeable batteries, usually nickel-cadmium or newer lithium-ion types, that stay charged while the building has power and automatically kick in when the power fails. They can go through thousands of charge cycles over their lifetime. And speaking of charging, the sign has a small circuit board inside that manages everything. It monitors the battery charge level. It switches seamlessly from main power to battery power if needed. It ensures the LEDs get exactly the right amount of electricity. Some modern signs even have self-diagnostic features that can alert maintenance staff if something isn't working properly. There's also the question of emergency override. In some buildings, exit signs have an extra bright mode that activates during emergencies. The sign gets even brighter, using more battery power but becoming even more visible in smoke and darkness. This feature might only last for 30 minutes or so before the battery drains, but 30 minutes is often all you need. The wiring inside the sign is carefully designed too. Fire-resistant coating, secure connections, everything built to keep working even if the building around it is failing. The wiring needs to meet electrical codes for safety and reliability. Some exit signs also include what's called an edgelit design. Instead of having LEDs behind the letters, they have LEDs along the edges of a clear panel, with the letters etched into the panel. The light travels through the panel and escapes through the etched letters, creating a glowing effect. This design uses even less energy and creates very even illumination. Photoluminescent signs take a completely different approach. Instead of using electricity at all, they use special materials that absorb ambient light during normal conditions and then glow in the dark. These materials, usually strontium aluminate compounds, can glow for hours after the lights go out. They never need batteries or bulbs or electricity. They just work, using the principle of phosphorescence. The advantage of photoluminescent signs is reliability. No electrical components to fail. No batteries to replace. They are like glow-in-the-dark toys, but much more sophisticated and much brighter. The disadvantage is that they need regular light exposure to stay charged, so they work best in areas with windows or regular lighting. Testing is a huge part of the technical specification process. Before an exit sign can be sold, it goes through rigorous testing. Drop test to ensure it won't break. Heat test to ensure the materials won't melt or warp in a fire. Brightness tests measured with special instruments called luminometers. Battery tests that cycle the battery thousands of times to ensure it will last. There's even testing for how well the sign performs in smoke. Engineers fill a chamber with artificial smoke and measure how visible the sign remains. They test different smoke densities, different types of smoke, different viewing angles, all to ensure that when you need that sign most, it will shine through. The materials used in exit signs have evolved dramatically over the decades. Early electric signs used fragile glass and bulbs that burned out constantly. Then came fluorescent tubes, which were better but still relatively fragile and contained mercury. Now we have LEDs, tougher plastics, and battery technology that lasts for decades. Each generation of technology making the signs more reliable, more efficient, more durable. And here's something beautiful to think about as you rest tonight. Every exit sign has a little sticker on it somewhere, usually on the back or side, that lists its technical specifications, the wattage, the battery duration, the lumens, the compliance codes it meets. Most people never read these stickers, but they are there, a little certificate of reliability, a promise that this sign has been tested and approved to do its job. Someone, somewhere, carefully placed that sticker. An inspector checked it. An engineer certified it. A whole chain of people, each doing their part to ensure that this little box of light and electronics will work when needed. The lumens shine silently through the night. The batteries charge and wait. The materials hold strong. All of this technology, all of this science, all of this careful engineering, just to create a simple, reliable glow that says, "This way to safety." As you drift towards sleep, you can appreciate that even something as simple as a glowing sign is actually a marvel of modern technology. Lumens measured precisely, materials chosen carefully, batteries tested thoroughly, all working together in quiet reliability, year after year, decade after decade. The technical specifications aren't just numbers on a page. They are promises. Promises that the light will shine, that the battery will last, that the materials will hold. Promises kept by the invisible science of lumens and materials, working together to keep you safe. Now let's imagine you're an architect designing a building. You've drawn the walls, planned the rooms, figured out where everything goes. Now comes an important question. Where do you put the exit signs? You might think it's simple. Put one above each exit door and you're done. But it's more complicated than that. And the complications are fascinating. Because exit signs aren't just markers. They're a guidance system, a path, a story that leads you from wherever you are to somewhere safe. Think of it like breadcrumbs in a fairy tale. Each sign is a breadcrumb showing you the next step of your journey. But unlike breadcrumbs, which can be eaten by birds or blown away by wind, exit signs need to be placed with mathematical precision. The first rule is simple. Every exit must be marked. This seems obvious, but it's important. If there's a door that leads outside or to a safe area, it needs an exit sign above it. No exceptions. Even if the door seems obvious, even if everyone knows it's there, even if it's a back door that's rarely used, every way out gets marked. But that's just the beginning. The real art of exit sign placement is creating what safety experts call continuity of guidance. This means that from anywhere in the building, you should be able to see at least one exit sign. And when you walk toward that sign, you should be able to see the next sign, and the next, and the next, following them like stepping stones all the way to safety. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a long hallway. You look to your left. You should see an exit sign. You look to your right. You should see another exit sign. The building codes specify how far apart these signs can be. Usually no more than 100 feet in a straight hallway. Why 100 feet? Because that's about as far as a person with normal vision can clearly see and read a standard exit sign. But hallways aren't always straight. They turn corners. They branch off. They form mazes of interconnected passages. This is where placement gets tricky. Every time a hallway changes direction, there should be an exit sign near that turn, pointing you in the right direction. Otherwise, you might go the wrong way, away from safety instead of toward it. Think about a T-intersection in a hallway. You're coming down one hallway and it ends at another hallway going left and right. Where do the signs go? There should be one at the intersection pointing left or right, or both if there are exits in both directions. And there should be signs visible down each direction of the cross hallway. 3 signs minimum, all working together to make sure no matter which way you approach the intersection, you'll know which way to go. Stairwells need special attention. Stays are critical evacuation routes, but they can be confusing in an emergency. Signs need to mark the entrance to the stairwell, but there also need to be signs inside the stairwell at every floor, showing you which way to continue down. And at the bottom, signs need to show you the way out of the stairwell and toward the final exit. In buildings with multiple floors, the placement becomes 3-dimensional. You need to think about vertical movement as well as horizontal. Signs need to guide you to the stairwell, down the stairs, and out of the building. It's like choreographing a dance where everyone's moving in the same direction. Large open spaces present another challenge. Picture a big gymnasium or cafeteria. There might be exits on multiple walls, but if you're standing in the center, you need to know which way to go. Signs need to be placed high enough and positioned so that they are visible from the center of the space. Sometimes this means hanging signs from the ceiling, not just mounting them on walls. The height of exit signs matters too. Too low, and they might be blocked by furniture or people. Too high, and they might be above your normal line of sight, especially if you're crawling under smoke. The standard height is usually 6.5 to 7 feet above the floor, high enough to be seen over crowds, low enough to still be in your normal field of vision. Brightness and surrounding lighting play into placement decisions too. An exit sign in a dark hallway can be less bright and still be visible, but an exit sign in a brightly lit shopping mall needs to be brighter to stand out against all the other lights and visual noise. Placement specialists consider the ambient light levels when choosing signs. There's also the question of redundancy. Critical paths, the main routes people will use to evacuate, often have multiple signs marking the same exit. This isn't wasteful, it's insurance. If one sign fails or gets obscured by smoke, the others are still there. You'll still find your way. Modern buildings sometimes use directional exit signs that include arrows. These are especially helpful in complex layouts. The sign doesn't just say exit or show the running man. It shows the running man with an arrow pointing left or right or straight ahead. Follow the arrow. Follow the running man. Find your way out. Some buildings even use floor-level exit path markings. These are strips of photoluminescent material along the floor that glow in the dark, creating a literal path you can follow even if you're crawling under smoke. These work in conjunction with the overhead signs, giving you multiple ways to navigate. Architects and safety consultants often create something called an egress plan. This is a map of the building showing all the exits and all the exit signs. They trace every possible path from every room to every exit, making sure each path is clearly marked. It's like planning a treasure hunt, except the treasure is safety and everyone needs to find it quickly. Building inspectors check exit sign placement carefully. They walk through buildings with checklists, standing at different spots, making sure the signs are visible from everywhere they need to be. They measure distances. They check angles. They ensure compliance with codes. This isn't bureaucracy for its own sake. It's quality control for a life safety system. In older buildings being renovated, updating exit sign placement can be challenging. The building wasn't designed with modern codes in mind. Walls are in different places. Hallways don't line up properly. Architects have to be creative, finding ways to add signs where they're needed without ruining the building's character or structure. The placement manual, the official guide that tells you where signs should go, is really a philosophy disguised as a rulebook. And the philosophy is this: never leave anyone wondering which way to go. Never let anyone feel lost. Never make anyone guess. Every sign is placed with intention. Every distance is calculated. Every angle is considered. Nothing is random. Nothing is arbitrary. It's all part of a careful choreography designed to guide you, step by step, from danger to safety. As you settle into sleep tonight, know that in every building you enter, someone has walked the path you might someday need to run. They've thought about where you'll be standing, what you'll be able to see, which way you'll need to go, and they've placed signs accordingly, creating a silent guidance system that's always there, always ready. The placement of exit signs is an act of care, an act of foresight, an act of love. Really, for people the placement specialist will never meet but is committed to protecting anyway. Every sign in its perfect place, waiting patiently to show you the way home. Let's talk about something that happens when no one is watching. The quiet work of maintenance. The checking and testing and replacing that ensures exit signs keep working year after year. Because here's the thing about safety systems, they need to be maintained. A fire extinguisher that hasn't been inspected might not work. A smoke detector with a dead battery won't help you. And an exit sign with a burnt-out bulb or dead battery is just a decorative rectangle on the wall. This is why buildings have maintenance schedules for exit signs, not suggestions. Requirements, written into building codes and enforced by inspectors, because lives depend on these little lights staying lit. In most places, exit signs must be tested monthly. Someone, usually a maintenance worker or building manager, walks through the building with a checklist. They look at every single exit sign. Is it lit? Is it bright enough? Are there any cracks in the housing? Any damage? They write it all down. Then comes the important part. They test the battery backup. There's usually a small button or switch on the sign that simulates a power failure. When you activate it, the sign should stay lit, now running on battery power alone. The maintenance worker times this. The sign needs to stay bright for at least 90 minutes. Remember, some places only test it for 30 seconds to confirm the battery kicks in. Then they restore power and note that it passed the test. If a sign fails any part of the test, it gets marked for repair or replacement. This isn't something that can wait until next month. A broken exit sign is a code violation and a safety hazard. It needs to be fixed right away. Every year, there's a more thorough inspection. This might be done by the building's maintenance team or by an outside inspector. They don't just glance at the signs. They get up on ladders. They open up the housing. They check the wiring connections. They look at the battery terminals for corrosion. They measure the actual light output with instruments. They also verify placement. Is the sign still in the right spot? Sometimes renovations happen and walls get moved or doorways get changed. Exit signs that were perfectly placed before might not be adequate anymore. The annual inspection catches these issues. Battery replacement is a big part of maintenance. Even good batteries don't last forever. Most exit sign batteries need to be replaced every 4 to 6 years. This is planned maintenance. Buildings keep records of when each battery was installed so they know when it's due for replacement. Replacing batteries before they fail is crucial. You don't want to wait until a battery dies and hope you notice it before there's an emergency. Proactive replacement means the signs are always ready. LED technology has made maintenance easier in some ways. Unlike old incandescent or fluorescent bulbs that burned out regularly, LEDs last for decades. Many modern exit signs will never need their lights replaced in their entire service life. This reduces maintenance time and costs significantly, but even LED signs need cleaning. Dust accumulates on the faces of signs. It might not seem like much, but over years, dust can reduce brightness noticeably. A quick wipe with a damp cloth during routine maintenance keeps the signs clear and bright. Documentation is surprisingly important. Buildings maintain logs of all exit sign inspections, tests, repairs, and replacements. These aren't just for the building's records. Inspectors want to see them. Insurance companies want to see them. If there's ever an incident, investigators will want to see them. Good documentation shows that the building owner takes safety seriously. It proves that maintenance wasn't neglected. It demonstrates compliance with codes and regulations. Speaking of compliance, building inspectors make regular visits to check on life safety systems, including exit signs. These inspections can be scheduled or surprise visits. The inspector will check a sample of signs throughout the building. They'll review maintenance logs. They'll verify that everything meets current codes. Failed inspections can result in fines, orders to fix violations, or even closure of the building until issues are resolved. This sounds harsh, but it's necessary. People's lives are at stake. There's also the matter of updating signs when codes change. Building codes evolve over time, as we learn more about safety. A building built 30 years ago might have exit signs that were perfectly code compliant back then, but don't meet today's standards. During major renovations, these signs often need to be upgraded. This is part of why maintenance workers need training. They need to know current codes. They need to understand how different types of signs work. They need to know what to look for during inspections. Many areas require specific certification for people who maintain life safety systems. The quiet work of maintenance doesn't get much glory. No one writes news articles about the maintenance worker who replaced an exit sign battery on a Tuesday afternoon. But that maintenance worker is a hero in their own right. They are keeping you safe in ways you'll never know about unless something goes wrong. And their job is to make sure nothing goes wrong. As you drift towards sleep, somewhere right now, a maintenance worker is testing exit signs in an empty building, checking them one by one, making sure the batteries work, replacing a bulb or LED module, wiping dust off a sign face, writing notes on a clipboard. They are doing this in hospitals where people are healing, in schools where children are learning, in offices where people work, in apartment buildings where families sleep. Everywhere, quiet work continues, keeping the lights on, keeping the systems ready. The peace you feel knowing that buildings are safe doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from the daily, monthly, yearly work of maintenance and compliance. People doing their jobs carefully and thoroughly, even when no one is watching, even when it seems routine and boring, because they know it matters. The exit signs glow because someone maintains them. They work because someone tests them. They are ready because someone cares. And that someone deserves our quiet gratitude as we rest safely in buildings protected by systems that are maintained with diligence and care. And so we come to the end of our journey through the world of exit signs. From silent sentinels to glowing symbols, from red versus green to the running man, from lumens and materials to placement and maintenance. We've explored every aspect of these humble, ignored, essential guides. But let's bring it all together now. As you prepare to drift off to sleep, let's think about what exit signs really mean in the bigger picture of our lives. They represent something beautiful, universal safety. No matter where you go in the modern world, you can trust that someone has thought about your safety. Someone has planned for emergencies you'll hopefully never face. Someone has installed lights that will guide you home if you ever need them. This is remarkable when you think about it. Across all the differences in language, culture, politics, and customs, humanity has agreed on this one thing. We should mark the exits. We should light the way to safety. We should take care of each other, even strangers we'll never meet. An exit sign in Tokyo works on the same principle as one in Toronto. A running man in Berlin means the same thing as one in Buenos Aires. The green glow speaks a universal language. This way to life. You can walk into any building, anywhere in the world, and feel a small measure of safety knowing that exit signs are there, glowing quietly, waiting patiently, ready instantly. It's a gift we give to each other as a global community. And here's the beautiful thing. It works because we all agreed it should work. We created codes and standards together. We shared knowledge and research across borders. We learned from each other's tragedies and triumphs. We built a system that transcends individual nations and serves all of humanity. The exit sign is proof that when we work together, when we care about each other's safety, when we commit to protecting even people we'll never know, we can create something good and lasting and universal. So tonight, as you close your eyes and let sleep come, you can rest a little easier, not just because exit signs exist, but because of what they represent. Care, foresight, community, the simple human commitment to look out for one another. In buildings all around the world, exit signs are glowing right now. In hospitals where babies are being born, in homes where families are sleeping, in offices that are empty and dark except for those faithful green or red lights, in schools waiting for tomorrow's children, in airports connecting travelers from everywhere to everywhere. All those signs, billions of them, glowing with the same quiet promise. If you need to find your way out, we've marked the path for you. You're not alone. You're not abandoned. The way to safety is lit. This is the peace of universal safety. Knowing that people you'll never meet have worked to protect you, that systems are in place, that the lights will shine when needed, that someone, somewhere, cared enough to make sure you'd be okay. So rest now. Let your breathing slow. Let your muscles relax. Let your mind drift. The exit signs are on duty. They've got the night shift. They are watching over you, along with all the other quiet safety systems working while you sleep. The silent sentinels stand guard. The running man keeps running. The green glow shines on, and you are safe, held in the care of a system designed with love, maintained with diligence, and perfected through decades of human dedication to keeping each other safe. Sweet dreams. The exits are marked. The path is lit. And tomorrow, when you wake and walk through the world, you'll pass beneath those signs again, hardly noticing them, exactly as it should be. They'll continue their quiet work, asking nothing, giving everything, lighting the way home. Sleep well, knowing you're protected by the logic, the care, and the universal commitment to safety represented by every exit sign in every building in the world. The lights are on, the path is clear, and all is well.